And we turn now to Dee Myers, former press secretary for President Bill Clinton, and Dan Bartlett, former counselor for President George W. Bush. Good morning to you both.
Morning, Harry.
Good morning.
Dee, let me start with you. If you were advising President Obama and you're trying to give this speech, how would you reconcile war and peace at the same time?
Well, it's a tough stretch for the president, obviously, but I think he's going to do a couple of things. He's going to reiterate the fact that he's humbled by this award and doesn't deserve to be in the company of many of the folks who've received it. And then I think he's going to have to talk about how the definition of security and of peace have to be broader, that sometimes you have to fight in order to secure the peace and security of the American people and of the world more broadly, something that he talked a little bit about even in his speech announcing his new policy in Afghanistan, that we have to broaden the definition of security.
Dan, is that the right answer?
Well, first and foremost, I probably would have told him to have the Peace Prize FedEx to him to the White House. I don't think any of them want to be where they are today. But I think you're right. Indeed, he's right. The best way to handle this is he has to articulate to the entire world that peace comes through strength, that we have to project our power, unfortunately, at times in our history in order to protect the peace. And that will be something that actually will resonate with Republicans and independents back home. It will cause him more problems with his base overseas in the international community as well as his base on the left side of his party.
Well, Dan, let me ask you about this. Afghanistan is an 8-year-old war. The president announces his surge policy, and as a result, his approval ratings in terms of handling the war have actually shot up.
That's exactly right. And we found this during the Bush administration when there was the problems we had in Iraq. The public wants to be in a fight that they know they can win, and there's a strategy to win. What they don't like is when they believe that their kids are, and men and women are over there and potentially dying in vain. And what they heard from the president last week is that we have a strategy, and they're giving him the benefit of the doubt and the generals on the ground the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not surprised that there's a bump in support. I think it's a good sign for this president. It's a good sign for our country.
On the other hand, Dee, his numbers in terms of approval of handling the economy with an unemployment rate of 10%, and probably even more people out there without jobs who have stopped looking for jobs. How, if you were advising him, how would you get that to bump in a positive direction?
Well, it's tough. It's tough to maintain a high approval rating when 3 million people have lost their jobs on his watch. And not his fault, in my opinion, but I think he needs to continue to try to focus on the economy and try to focus on job creation. And we saw him do that this week in a speech talking about how he was going to make capital more available to small businesses, for example, to create jobs. It's been hard for him because not only has he had giant economic issues to deal with, but he's been in some ways, I don't want to say distracted, but he's been forced to focus on both health care and Afghanistan, which has taken the focus off what is clearly the public's top priority, which is the economy. It'll be very helpful if Congress can finish health care, pass something, the president can sign it, and he can move into an area where he can talk about jobs, rebuilding the economy, and really addressing their most immediate and urgent concerns.
And Dan, in 15 seconds or left, if the president called you and said, how do I get my numbers up, what would you tell him?
Well, first, I wouldn't be going to Copenhagen and being involved in a cap and trade debate. What he done, he has lost the narrative on the economy, and he has put too many irons in the fire, Harry. He needs to come back. He needs to focus on jobs, 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 and stop talking about things that make people anxious about jobs, whether it be a massive health care bill, whether it be the climate change bill. He needs to focus on job creation and sustain that message for a considerable period of time.
All right, Dan Bartlett, Dee Myers, good to see you both. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Harry.
All right.